We are talking about the AFC East, and I got some help. I went out and I reached out to some of my friends to help me so I'm not up here talking like a big dum-dum today. What is up, AFC East? Now, yes, I am a Miami Dolphins channel, but I still do cover the AFC East. I still talk about all of the teams in the AFC East, and during free agency and even the draft, I will be covering the draft, and I'll be talking about some of the things if there are big news and notes and everything from the NFL. But I have obviously predominantly a Miami Dolphins YouTube channel. So, being that we're in the AFC East, I have covered the Dolphins, kind of their predicament going into free agency, and I thought to myself, I'm like, I want to see what's going on with the rest of the division. I'm surprised I got that out. It sounded like, the video slowed down a little bit. So we're going to talk about the Dolphins again. I'm going to kind of, because if you're a Bills, Jets, or Patriots fan watching this, first off, appreciate your time and effort in sitting there and listening to me ramble. But you might want to know what's going on with the Dolphins. So I'll throw a little Dolphin information in there as well. So yes, I did reach out to some of the YouTubers / Twitter people / consultants of each team. So I'm not up here talking out of my tuchus. And we're going to start with the division champs for a very long time, and that is the Buffalo Bills. Now, the Buffalo Bills, as of today, me recording this, are sitting at negative $10.1 million in cap space. So I was like, I'm going to reach out to my man, Kevin Massar. Hope I pronounced your name right. Go follow him on Twitter. I'll pop it up probably here. Go follow him on Twitter. And I asked him, I'm like, look, your team is sitting at negative $10 million in cap space. My team was sitting at a negative. We're now sitting at $1 million. More moves will be made. I will talk about it in a second. What are you guys going to do to clear that cap space? I said to him. And also, what are some of your needs going into free agency? And Kevin got back to me like that because Kevin's awesome like that. And this is what Kevin said to me. He said, Josh Allen's going to get a new deal, which will clear up some cap space. He said they're going to cut Von Miller, which will clear up $8.4 million in cap space. McGovern is going to get a contract extension, which will clear up some cap space. Ed Oliver and Dawkins probably are going to get their contracts restructured. They're going to cut Elam, and they're going to cut Mitch Trubisky, which is going to save about $2.5 million. Now, if you look at the Buffalo Bills cap situation, you see here the top guys are the ones that he talked about, right? Josh Allen has got a $44 million cap hit. He'll get a new contract. I think, this is like the last year of his fully guaranteed, and obviously they're not going to have him being sitting there at $64 million, I round up, in the cap hit next year. So he definitely is going to get a new contract. Then you got Von Miller here. He's going to be cut. Like I said, they move on from him. This is the time to do it. $8.4 million cap savings there. And he talked about Dawkins and Ed Oliver getting restructures, cut Elam, which is right here, the cornerback, cutting your backup quarterback and Mitch Trubisky. You don't really need him because Josh Allen, the man, is like a tank. He's usually never hurt. So there is his thought process as how they get back, under the cap space, being that they're over the cap space by 10 million. So I was like, fantastic. What are your needs now going into free agency? He said a cornerback too. Obviously, if Elam's going to get cut, they desperately need a cornerback too. He said D-line. He said he wants to see them focus on the defensive line and make some additions there. He said he expects in the draft 2 to 3 defensive linemen in the first 2 rounds, being that they have 2 second-round picks. And he said a fast wide receiver. And Hollywood Brown, I think, has been linked to them. T. Higgins at some point was linked to them, but he's probably going to stay with the Cincinnati Bengals, especially with the cap space going up by about $20 million. But they need another receiver opposite Coleman, being that Mac Hollins, who is their big guy, is a free agent. We'll see if they bring him back. But he said, a fast receiver. Overall, looking at the Buffalo Bills offseason, it's not going to be crazy. Buffalo, with Josh Allen making as much money as he's making, they really haven't had a crazy spending in free agency since Josh Allen got off his rookie contract. But as long as you have Josh Allen as your quarterback, you guys don't really have to worry about much, because his play, his style, and how good he is kind of masks the lack you have in other areas. Like, you guys, like, you brought in Amari Cooper. He didn't really do much, right? You had that receiver you drafted, even though a lot of the NFL is kind of mad at you guys for trading with the Chiefs and they get Xavier Worthy. But you didn't really have much when it came to the receivers. Now, not saying your receivers weren't good. Like, I'm not going to sit up here and say, you know, Shakir didn't do his thing, Coleman didn't do his thing at points. But obviously, you do need a legit number 2 or a legit number 1. We don't know what's going on with Keon Coleman. He's still young, you know, going into his second year. But Buffalo's Buffalo, and until someone beats them, they're going to win the division, and I don't think they're really in a situation where we should really worry about them. So that is Buffalo, and again, go check out Kevin. Go follow his Twitter handle. Now, real quick, going by the division standings, Miami Dolphins, I've talked about this. Right as of now, the Miami Dolphins are sitting at about $1 million in cap space, give or take, with the moves that they made. The moves that are probably going to be made, and I've talked about this yesterday for the people who do follow my channel, and I've made a whole video talking about the cap space. You'll see guys like Jake Bailey get cut. Alec Ingold's a name out there. I don't want to cut him, but he's a name out there. You'll get the restructuring of Bradley Chubb, Austin Jackson, the Sealer. That'll save up about $24 million. Blake Ferguson and Julian Hill might get cut. That'll save you about $2.1 million. And if they stay there, they're good. They're above the cap. Nothing to really worry about. But you also have the Tron Armstead situation. Where would they go with that? Tyreek Hill, are they trading him or not? That's a post-June 1st situation. And then obviously Bradley Chubb. If they restructure him, he's staying. If not, will they move on from him? When it comes to needs, the Dolphins, to me, obviously it's guard. We need some guards. A big receiver, because we have all 6-foot receivers. And we need defense, because besides, we have like nobody at defensive line, nobody at middle linebacker. We have no safeties. It's a lot of defense. But for the people who are subscribed, you know this already. And for the new people, if you want more on what's going on with the Dolphins, hit that subscribe button. So next we go to the New York Jets. And with the New York Jets, I reached out to my man Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7. Here is his Twitter handle. Go check him out. Go follow him out. I have a ton of different... So I have a lot of Bills guys that I could have reached out to, but Kevin was the first one that jumped in my mind. Obviously, there's Dan Mitchell. There's all these guys, a part of the Buffalo Bills. Like, they have this huge channel that I'm friends with. And then same thing with the Jets. You know, you have Jets Talk 24/7 with Ryan. You have Jets Central, who I'm really close with. You have Jets Media, who I'm close with. But, you know, Ryan... First name popped in my head. Good guy. I've worked with him a bunch from Jets Talk 24/7. Go check him out. Now, the Jets are in a better situation. As of right now, they have a $23.9 million cap space. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, they don't need to clear cap space, right? What are they going to do? Now, obviously, we know the Aaron Rodgers situation. If they cut Aaron Rodgers right now, it is a ridiculous cap hit of... negative $25.5 million. So they're not going to cut him right now. He'll be a post June 1st designation. But they will move on from him after June 1st. And he said also Alan Lazard will be cut post June 1st. Those two will save them roughly about $20.5 million, 9.5 Rodgers, 11.5 with Lazard. If they cut Devontae Adams, which he's talking about, obviously, as of right now, like, they don't have to wait till June 1st. They saved $29.97 million. So just by moving on from Alan Lazard, Devontae Adams, they saved almost $30 million in cap space. So again, they will jump up to about $53 million in cap space. And he said they're looking at having roughly around $77 million in cap space, which is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to read word for word what he says also. I hope we retain Sherwood and Eccles on defense, but both may follow Saleh/Ulbrich. I think DJ Reed leaves via free agency. Priority keeping for me would be our right tackle Morgan Moses. He says, needs, I hope they hit free agency. He says defensive tackle. There's one from Detroit and one from Denver. Don't remember the names off the top of my head. We have ties with the head coach and GM. Obviously, he says, I think Carlton Davis from Detroit could replace DJ Reed at cornerback too. He said, I could see us targeting a safety and potentially a linebacker. Supposedly, Javon Holland is a name that they're looking at. He said the fan base is split on quarterback, but Justin Fields is a popular option to compete for a year since he has the Ohio State connection with Garrett Wilson and Jeremy Ruckert. He says biggest needs heading into the draft are wide receiver, tight end, linebacker, safety, and offensive line depth. I'm hoping for McMillan at the top of the draft. So obviously the biggest thing with the Jets going into the 2025 season is who's playing quarterback. They have a plethora of options. You know, there's, will they trade up? There's the rumors that they possibly could try to trade up and get Cam Ward. They'd have to give a lot up because Cam Ward seems to be the number one pick as of right now. They go that route. Do they go free agency route? Do they sit pat where they're at and maybe take Dart later in the draft? There's a lot of things that they need to discuss, especially when it comes to the quarterback position, because they are not going to have a quarterback. They'll have Tyrod Taylor on the team, and that's literally it. So for the Jets in 2025, the biggest question is, who is your quarterback? Because they have the cap space. They can really do whatever. They can trade for Stafford if they want to. They can go out and trade for Kirk Cousins if they want to. They can make a move for Sam Darnold, which would be hilarious to bring him back. They could do whatever they want in the quarterback realm. But again, the biggest question is, what are they going to do at the quarterback helm realm, whatever? But their defense will be fine because obviously they bring in another defensive coach. Bring in another good GM. So they bring in guys that kind of know what they are doing in certain aspects. But again, you don't know because their first time head coach / GM also, you know, Glenn played for them, was drafted by them. So it's pretty cool to see him go back to New York / New Jersey. But the Jets aren't in a bad situation in the offseason. It's just the big fat unknown of their quarterback. And then finally, we have the last team and the team that finished last in the division, and that is Les Patriots. That's how you say their name in French. My guy Colby from Patriot Global, again, boop, here is his Twitter handle. Go follow him. He is part of the AFC East Roundtable, and he is part of Roundtable Sports. Go check them out as well. I do work with them during the season, during their SmackDown, and I am part of the Miami Dolphins Roundtable. Very happy to be part of the AFC East Roundtable and Roundtable Sports. Love those guys. But go check out Patriot Global. I hit him up. I said, obviously, I don't need to ask him about cap space because they have $126.7 million in cap space. 126.7. The next team below them, I think it's like 90, give or take. Like they have $30 million more than the next team. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I didn't have to say to him, hey, how are you gonna clear cap space? Because they don't need to, right? The Dolphins and the Bills are kind of the only ones who are in kind of a little bit of a cap hell. Outside of that, Jets are fine, and obviously the Patriots are more than fine. So I said to him, okay, so obviously I don't need to ask you about the cap space, but what are your needs? What are your needs? And he said, to be honest, you could list any position and you wouldn't be wrong. He said, if I listed them in order, I would go. He said, offensive tackle, currently don't have a pinned in at left tackle or right tackle. He says edge rusher, one of the worst units in the NFL in 2024 at stopping the run and pressuring the quarterback. Keon White, currently edge number 1. He said wide receiver, haven't had a number 1 since 2017 with Brandon Cooks. 2 bust draft picks in 2024 with Polk and Baker. not only do we do not have a number one, but we don't have a quality number two. He says, Mike Vrabel said they're going to heavily address the trenches this offseason, so I expect big moves on the O-line and D-line. So that is huge, and obviously they have the money to do it because they're paying nobody. Like, if you look right now, their highest paid is their right tackle, and he's making $21 million. Next is their safety at 15 and their defensive tackle at 15. Like, this is why they have so much money in cap space, because they're not paying anybody. Like, nobody. Now, they got a lot of dead cap. Well, not really. Their highest is 2.6 in Juju, but they're not paying anybody. So they're literally starting fresh, the New England Patriots. They have their potential quarterback of the future in Drake May, who played well at the end of the year. And they have Vrabel coming in, who was a hot commodity, but obviously he was going back to New England, just like Glenn went back to the Jets. And you got to hope he can do what he did for the Titans his first 2 years there. And that's probably what he's trying to emulate by doing what Colby said and focusing on the trenches and probably getting a run game going and not putting all of the focus on the rookie quarterback to do everything, kind of like what Harbaugh is doing with Justin Herbert with the Chargers, and not having him do everything. So it looks like the Patriots are starting their rebuild fresh with a ton of money. With how many draft picks do they have? They have 9 draft picks. We don't know about the comps, but they have 1, 2, 2 threes, 1 4, 1 5, and 3 sevens. So they are positioned themselves perfectly to start this rebuild and get it off on a great foot. So looking at the AFC East, we don't know what the Dolphins are going to do. Right, as Dolphin fans, we're sitting here hoping they address the trenches, but will they? I don't know. Buffalo's Buffalo. As long as they got Josh Allen, they are the odds-on favorite and the top 3 team in the NFL. Jets, who's their quarterback? What are they going to do? Is their coach going to be good? There's all those question marks. And then the Patriots, how's their rebuild going to go? This is their first legit rebuild without Bill Belichick at the helm and using a legit GM to go out there and get players versus Bill Belichick, who didn't have a great draft history. So the AFC East, the state of the AFC East going into free agency is very interesting because we're all competing and fighting with each other. And you got 2 teams that are starting fresh. You got one team that is on its last leg in the Dolphins that if they don't get it right, they are starting over. And you got Buffalo trying to get over that hump of finally making it to the Super Bowl after how many consecutive years of almost getting there. So comment below if you are part of the Bills Mafia, if you're part of the Jets, if you're part of the Patriots franchise. Did I miss anything? What are your thoughts on my assessment of your franchise? If you're a Dolphins fan, comment below. What are your thoughts on the other AFC East teams? Very interested to see what everyone has to say. I will see you guys tomorrow. We are looking at players the Dolphins should re-sign. Then we'll start to really get into the thick of it because we're getting real close to the start of free agency. I think like another week and a half, give or take. So comment below. I will see you guys tomorrow. But like usual, stay classy. My friends out.